Well, let's bring it all together. I think one of the hardest things to manage on social media these days is working out who to spend quality time with when you just can't talk to everyone. And I
Yeah,
wanted you to tell us a little bit about social media influence and KRED.
yeah. Well, this is actually very important when you get very busy and quite popular, and you are getting 20 to 30 and maybe even 50 new followers a day, which will happen as you get down the track. You're gonna get really frustrated by saying, "Well, look, I can't follow everyone. I mean, I've only got." Say you dedicate half an hour a day to Twitter and doing your stuff. You just can't say hello to 50 people and have a decent conversation in 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So, what you might want to do, you might want to do a few things. One is you might want to just pick people that you seem to resonate with based on their bio, which is why it's so important to have one. Because you know who you're after. You might be in a band in San Francisco and you want to hang out with people who live on the West Coast who are likely to come with the gigs. That might be the people you want to hang out with. You've got a very clear definition of who you want to hang out with. You want to hang out with other musos and people who want to come to your concerts. You might be a model living in New York. And you want to hang out with photographers, other models, and fashion people. So if someone follows you, who does SEO from Gujarat, and you think, well, I don't need to follow you back because you're not likely to come to New York and you can't take photos, I'm guessing, so there's no point me following you back. So you've got to be very diligent with who you follow back because it's a time sink.
Mm-hmm.
But separate to that, there is another really, really, really amazing site. I think this possibly is my favourite site on the internet. It's called KRED, KRED.com, KRED.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does is it measures your social media influence. So, for instance, you come across someone who's got 9,450 followers and you go, I don't know if I believe you. I don't know if I believe you. Some people you've seen on Twitter, you think, I'm not sure that's true. Do you really have 945,000 followers? Is that true? Because, there's this scam about buying them now. So what KRED does is it gives you a score. And it's a very good decoder for finding out whether people are real.
Right.
It's an advanced strategy. You don't need to do it straight away. But when you're getting very busy and you think, I really don't have time to deal with tie kickers anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've really got to get clever and I've got to get strategic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really great decoder. And the reason I love it above the others, because there's a number of these, the reason I love it is it gives you two scores. It gives you a score out of 1,000. My current score is 899 out of 1,000. So, 9 out of 10, if you like, 90%. 90%, my social media influence score is 90%. That's pretty good. That means that I'm doing a good job and I know what I'm talking about. There's room for improvement, but, I'm not too bad. I'm not as popular as Justin Bieber, but I do know what I'm talking about.
Right.
That's what that indicates to me. So if you've got someone with 945,000 followers and they've got a KRED score of 400, they're full of shit.
Right.
You just know they're full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so that might be that person has bought those followers or, has used some sort of spammy methods to get them.
Interesting.
But the second one, and this is why I love this site over everything else, it gives you another score out of 12, which I call the generosity index. What they call it is your outreach score. And my score is 10 out of 12. And what it means is when you tweet, how often do you tweet for others?
Oh.
And how often are your tweets very selfishly, spammy and, self-absorbed?
Right.
So my score is 10 out of 12, which fits perfectly over what I talk about. I tweet 10 to 1. So that makes sense. Every time I tweet, 12 times, every time I tweet 12 times, 10 of those are about others. So if you come across a person, this is not so much to do with the followers, but if you come across someone who's got a lot of followers, but their social outreach score is something like 4 out of 12, you might think, well, okay, that person's got a lot of followers, but they're unlikely to share my stuff. So, there's limited value in me connecting with them.
Oh.
Chances are they're just not going to have time for me.
Right.
Whereas if you come across a person and you think, look at that, 10 out of 12. They've got a lot of followers, but in spite of the fact that they've got a lot of followers, they also help others. Aren't they wonderful?
Right.
So you might, and this again, if you get 20 or 50 new followers, and you've got to decide, because this is how I do it, I would much rather spend 10 minutes with one person once a day than say hello to everyone. You know, you spend 10 minutes with one person. Hey, it's Keith, I'm in Melbourne. How are you today? Hey, that was nice. Hey, lovely. Actually, I'm really glad you said that. I'm coming to Melbourne next week. I've got so many stories about how this synergy happens simply by being open.
I think Gary Vaynerchuk would completely agree with you on that. I think that is exactly what he did with the individual time and effort he spent with his building his KRED using Twitter, because he certainly did it that way, and it was remarkable. And as we're taking the last bit of the time to wrap things up, I was hoping you would share with us just how to manage the huge amount of information that's going on with Twitter each day, starting perhaps with lists and giving us some few nice tips to end on.
Yeah. It's a really good one to end on because remember there's 140 million tweets per day. 1 billion tweets every week.
Wow.
There's no way you can manage watching them all, sharing them all, and keeping up. So what Twitter does, it's unbelievable, and it's even better now just recently. You can create lists of people that you follow. What you can do with Twitter is you can have lists. And the way I do it, now I live in Melbourne, Australia, and deep in my heart, because I am a musician, I used to be a muso in the 90s, a hard rock band. Used to write my own songs, had long hair and leather pants, a bit of a groover. I've always wanted to tour America. And one day I'll get there. One day there'll be the Keith Keller, the Keith Keller American tour. There will be one day. So what I've done is I've actually created a list of every single major American town. And I've got a list of the top 100 American towns, next to my computer. And I've created a list of all the major American towns. And whenever someone follows me or whenever I come across someone who lives in Washington or Baltimore or Philadelphia or Seattle, I add them to the list. This is my way of measuring all of the material going on. You don't have to do it based on towns. You could do it based on cohorts. You might have actors, models, writers, musos, lead guitarists, Texans, Aussies, Canucks, New Zealanders, Kiwis, as we call them here, and so, you might have a list of people you want to meet. You might have a list of people that work in different towns. You might have a list of people that work in different areas, photographers, models, actresses, directors, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth. Yeah. So you can create any amount of lists you want. As I said, 5,000 lists with 1,000 people in each. And, the reason why I love this stuff and the reason why we're working together is that all that we're teaching in these series of videos is how to manage this huge pool. You can do it yourself and go for it. But we're just giving you all the goss because we've been doing it so long now. We've got systems, haven't we?
That's it. That's critical. These systems, this knowledge and these systems. We're giving people shortcuts. These tutorials, shortcut, they're having to find all this information, learn it themselves. In the time that it took us to do it, we're bringing it to the table, and I think that's brilliant. And I think you've shared so much about Twitter that people are going to just be saturated. They're going to immediately be able to go out and do something.
Talk about Twitter for 90 minutes. I mean, who would have thought?
Right. Well, I could have guessed as much, but I think our audience is probably thinking, wow, I didn't know all about that with Twitter. I didn't know it could do that. I didn't know that it, how powerful it was. And you've been brilliant, Keith. Absolutely brilliant. I wanted to say how wonderful it was that you've shared some amazing tips today and explaining Twitter so well and in such a comprehensive and understandable way.
You're very welcome, and you can see why I love it. I mean, it's so powerful, and it has so much potential, doesn't it?
It does, and I feel your passion for it. I'm going to go on Twitter right now, and I hope our users or viewers do the same. Because, and And again, we made mention of all these other tutorials that we've already built that they can go to, like the blogging and the social media marketing and, Facebook. But, they can also download the tips, tricks, and secrets that are found in the downloadable PDFs for this section on the Get Found Fast for the Glamorous. They can check out our other episodes related to search engine marketing. And remember, we're here to get you found fast, to build your personal brand, enhance your glamour, increase your popularity, and become more famous using the web. That's what we're here to do, right, Keith?
Absolutely, and I'm very, very proud. I keep saying this, but I am. I'm very proud of what we're creating here. We're really pulling together a collective wisdom, probably over 10 years if you work out exactly how long we've been doing this together, separately and also together. It's probably 10 years of collective wisdom.
Great discussion today on Twitter. Thanks so much for sharing everything. And for everybody else out there, take care. This is Chelsea Benham, your co-host for Get Found Fast for the Glamorous. Wishing you all well, and you too, Keith. Keep it safe.
See you later. We'll see you for the next one.
Excellent. Bye.